I'm more reckless.
You know it.
I'm more dangerous.
You're fired.
I'm more unpredictable. I'm your friend.
You're fired.
I've known you for 20 years. I'm your friend. I'm the world's strongest man.
You're fired.
You're the big head lead. Come here.
You're fired.
Hey, I got lost. I got emotion.
You're fired.
I put my hands on you.
You're fired.
I'm the world's strongest man.
You're fired.
I'm the world's strongest man.
You're fired.
I'm your friend.
You're fired.
Woo, woo, woo.
You know it.
Woo, woo, woo.
You're fired.
What? What? I'm your. What? What? I thought friends could do that. I thought friends could do that.
You're fired.
You ain't gonna do nothing. You ain't gonna do nothing.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
I'm more reckless.
You know it.
I'm more dangerous.
You're fired.
I'm more unpredictable. I'm your friend. I'm the world's strongest man.
You're fired.
I'm the world's strongest man.
You know it.
What? What? I'm your. What?
Oh, I'm acting like I'm sick.
I'm the world's strongest man. I'm your friend. Hey, I got lost. I got emotion.
You're fired.
I put my hands on you.
You're fired.
I'm the world's strongest man.
You're fired.
I'm your friend.
I think this is fake.
You can't say that.
I can say that.
Wrestling's not fake.
It's still real to me, damn it.
The unscripted, uncensored, loose cannon of commentary.
This ain't WCW. This ain't Monday Night Raw. This ain't SmackDown. This ain't even WWE.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
The recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment.
You're listening to Marks on Commentary.
You're listening to Marks on Commentary. I'm Eddie Brophy.
I'm Jason Smith.
See what happens when we don't do this show for like a month?
We're all out of sync.
Well, a little bit, yeah. My fiance's eating potato chips loudly behind me. This time it's not my fault. This time I'm not drunk and eating nachos.
The night is young, sir.
What?
The night is young.
Oh, I was talking to you. She was whispering that they can't hear her.
Oh.
It's true. But interesting to note that Jason and I had bitched for a while that there wasn't much to talk about. And then we get this long list of releases. Now, I'm going to go through the list, Jason, and tell me which ones actually surprise you. JTG.
It ends the streak. The 7-year streak.
Drew McIntyre.
That one a little bit, because I think he had talent.
Jinder Mahal.
Don't care.
Does Jinder Mahal sound English to you? Drew McIntyre's English, yes.
I knew that.
Like American English? Oh, she knew that. Oksana. This one did bum me out. Kurt Hawkins.
A little bit, but it's like a Zack Ryder, where it was just like, you've done nothing with him.
I'll get to that in a minute. Theodore Long.
Surprising.
Yeah, that one I was a little surprised by, but I mean, he hasn't been on TV in so long that kind of makes sense. Camacho.
Yeah, another one I don't care.
This one, Brodus Clay.
Yeah, he really just fell out of creative. Like, they had nothing for him. Like, they were in a rush to break that tag team up, and then nothing.
Wouldn't be the least bit surprised to find out that Albert's probably going to be on the next list.
Well, I think he's been repackaged to be more of an announcer kind of deal.
Evan Bourne.
Surprising that he didn't get another chance at the main roster.
Yoshitatsu.
They lost their only Japanese demographic on the roster.
Nina's just laughing. Right? Do you think the name Yoshitatsu
is that intimidating?
That's inappropriate, is what that is. All right, she's done with her inappropriate laughter. Mark Harris, he's a referee. That does nothing. Well, there were a few things that I did think were kind of interesting. Again, WWE with the Twitter drama. I don't know if you read. Mark Henry had posted, "Here we stand 18 years in August, still here." To which Kurt Hawkins had responded, "Your colleagues lose their jobs and you tweet that. You're an idiot."
Genius, but I think that's just Mark Henry. I don't think he like follows things as closely as you would think.
No, I mean at this point, I almost feel like he's got like tenure with WWE if such a thing existed.
But I think the tweet went out because today is actually his birthday.
Right.
So it was more of like a, hey, this is what I do and this is who I am, and I don't think he had any like knowledge that his coworkers got fired.
I did like this tweet. My worst nightmare has come true. I now have to start paying for my own wrist tape again. Shit.
Creative. I think he's one of the few guys that can make an impact on the indie scene. So
Probably. I seem to remember or reading somewhere that I think he already got scooped up by one of the top indies. But
yeah.
Let's see. Brodus Clay had tweeted this. Is it better to be held down, held back, and let go? I'm proud of the obstacles I fought through WWE, and now greatness is on me. By greatness, according to TMZ, he's going to save the Dolphins.
So fucking random. Like, I had to double check my source. I was like, is that legit? Like, he's gonna go be on, like, what is that show? Like, like a Discovery show, whatever it is.
On, like, the Animal Planet type show?
Yeah.
I am kind of curious if we did, like, a and I would like to include my fiance, but she would just start pulling names out of the hat. If we did a WWE death pool, so to speak, of people who are going to lose their jobs, do you have anyone that you could think of potentially losing their job?
Daniel Bryan.
Daniel Bryan?
What?
Title.
They took away his title. Doesn't mean they're going to fire him.
I do. I think they're going to like the drama.
It's still real to her, damn it. No, we were watching this the other night, and she just nudges me. She's all upset. Why do they hate him? Like, really indignant about it. Like, really, really mad.
We're talking real storyline, like real reality, not like TV firings.
You should see the look in her eyes. She really thinks they're going to fire him.
I feel like the drama.
Well, this is the reality era, so yeah, maybe we'll put money on that one. See if that one actually happens. No, she did. You did have a really good question the other night. She did ask me. What was the question? It was about, do the arenas have the rings there, or do they bring it with them? I thought it was an honest question.
Mm-hmm. Well, I get it.
Jason's doing his best not to laugh at you. It's okay.
I'm not trying very hard.
No, he is not. Hey, you know what? At least she watches wrestling, so
yeah,
I got that going for me. But
I'm happy for you.
Who do you have in your death pool?
Who's up on the? I mean, Ryder has to be somewhere because it's like they haven't done shit with him.
Other than who? No, he wrestled the Rusev.
Yeah.
That was who he wrestled. Yeah, that was a glorified squat. Like that match lasted all of like what, 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Wasn't even in the submit when he tapped out. Like there was no like dramatic act. Like there was no acting involved in that. Like as soon as he got put in the hole, he just tapped. I used to always laugh like when Foley used to do Socko on people, and they tapped before the Manimal Claw even went like into the underjaw, under the tongue. It was almost as if people were just freaked out by the move itself. They're just like, no, don't do it. Yeah, Ryder would definitely be on my.
David Otunga.
Yeah, where the hell has he been lately?
Beats me. He's got to go soon though.
I'm trying to think though. Who else?
I'm looking over like the current roster.
Hold
they
on.
really did clean house. So
our correspondent on the couch has something she wants to. You said you know who the next big thing's going to be?
I do.
Who's the next big thing?
Bad news guy.
The bad news guy.
Nice. Nice.
I just like that, the bad news guy. Honey, if you could tell me who's on the way, the bad news guy. You don't like him, I thought.
I don't, and he's from Northern England.
She's got a thing against people from Northern England. He would have been, no, seriously, he would have been on my list like last summer.
Yeah.
He definitely would. I'm actually really surprised. Now, are you still kind of mulling over your list, or?
Yeah, I mean, maybe Hunico gets fired, but Sin Cara still has a job.
I'm surprised that guy. Wait, wasn't he fired already?
Original Sin Cara?
Yeah, didn't he get like
original Sin Cara? Yes, but Hunico Sin Cara is still there. So
fucking Sin Caras are there? Because I thought Hunico was the original Sin Cara.
No, Hunico is another Mexican guy. Sin Cara was the guy that botched. There's Sin Cara without the big eagle tattoo on his like arm, and then Hunico became Sin Cara, and now that's Sin Cara. Yeah, we need like a flow chart.
The one in white pants, is that, yes, that's the one with the mask that you wore at Target. Blue and white, yes. Hey, at least you're getting thrown off by the colors. I think if they're gonna release any version of Sin Cara, I would like to see at least one. You know what they should do? Like Survivor Series style of like 2001. Do a Sin Cara Battle Royal, and whoever wins gets to play Sin Cara. It makes perfect sense.
Take all the guys who just got like released, put them in the ring in Sin Cara masks. Brodus Clay in a Sin Cara mask.
Why didn't they do that? Like in a keep your job match and just put everybody in. Remember when NXT? I don't know if they still do this because I haven't watched it. And this is why I didn't watch it, when they did like the obstacle challenge, like it was like guts but with wrestling.
If they have to grab the aggro crag.
If they just did that with everybody in like Sin Cara masks, it's a good idea. Damn it! Hashtag hire me WWE.
That's it. That's how you get your job.
Well, now I'm just kind of curious because the roster was already pretty thin considering. When you look at this list of cuts, and inevitably, as JR and a few others have pointed out, there's got to be more, like way more. Mm-hmm. How much smaller can your roster get from here?
I think it can. There's a lot of guys that they just don't do anything with anymore. And now you have, what is it, like 80 guys they said they have down in NXT, so those become the new jobbers. Your NXT guys become your new jobbers.
Well, I think you just said it right there. They'll just refer them as the NXT guys.
Yeah.
Now, with the Money in the Bank match, obviously because Daniel Bryan they're saying that his neck problem. I'm kind of worried. Actually, no. Going back to Nina's Daniel Bryan prediction, I'm a little worried about this because I did read that backstage. They are saying that his neck injury is way worse than they're letting on. So I don't like the fact that if this happens, if we have Daniel Bryan fans who are listening, you can blame my fiance for the fact that Daniel Bryan may potentially have to retire.
Yeah.
That's going to be an oh shit moment for WWE when the guy that they were building to be
the next guy.
Well, yeah.
Or the guy.
The guy.
Yes guy.
The yes guy. We'll call him that, the yes guy. You're a yes man. Like, what do you do? Like, I'm still sitting around wondering to myself, like, what are they going to do going forward here?
I don't know. I think you're fucked as soon as you get the Money in the Bank. Like, who is the guy to get the strap at the pay-per-view? I don't think there's that guy.
Well, I mean, they did say that, I read somewhere that they already have their guy. They know who's going to win it. But it worries me because the match, I also read, they were going to do 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches. Supposedly, they're going to do, like, the mid-carders in one match for the Money in the Bank briefcase.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have, like, Cena, Wyatt, and, Cesaro, and Del Rio, and I'm trying to think who else qualified. Orton's already in there, but those guys go for the Sheamus. I mean, out of those guys, who do you see potentially getting it?
It's such a clusterfuck. Like, I know why it's supposed to, like, I think it'd be a horrible move to go back to Orton. Cena's been done a million times. I don't think I think fans would literally boo, especially in Boston. Like, that's the other factor you have to look at.
I was gonna throw it to Nina on the couch. She had mumbled Orton. I will be so devastated if that happens.
Like, yeah.
It's a real possibility, though. Like, I could kind of see them just throwing it back at Orton and be like, here you go.
So fucking terrible. Del Rio isn't what he was at one point. Is this a way to, light that fire again? Maybe. But you got 2-3 weeks to get that ball moving, and they're not doing jack shit with it. So I guess Bray Wyatt, but I really don't want to do that too soon.
I probably want to put money back on Wyatt. Say it's either him or Cesaro. If it's going to be one of the younger guys, if they're going to try and build with the lack of Daniel Bryan on the roster right now, I think your smart money's on booking one of them or putting them in the position. I mean, it'd be smart, but at the same time, that's.
If they're doing it like that, they're going to give it to the creepy guy, right? What's his name?
Yeah, Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
Nina's, she's predicting Bray Wyatt. I think if they're going to give it to anyone.
Remember when they had it out, those two?
Who? What, Cena and Bray Wyatt? What?
Daniel Bryan involved?
What? Yeah, Daniel Bryan had a feud with sorry, Jason. Daniel Bryan had a feud with Bray Wyatt.
Right. So he's out of the spotlight. You're gonna put the enemy in. It's gonna bring tons of drama.
It's called Heat.
Hey, she's getting there, man. She's getting.
Okay. I'm trying to teach the vernacular.
Well, she's bringing the predictions, and Jason bringing the vernacular. I like where this is going. No, I think your smart money would more than likely be Bray Wyatt, because I think right now, like, I don't know for sure, but I did see that the mock-up cover work for the new WWE game was Bray Wyatt on the cover. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that means that your cover star is like predicting anything, because for what it's worth, they could have thrown Daniel Bryan on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I do have a feeling that if you would give it to anyone, because if you give it to Cena or Orton, you're gonna get booed. I don't think Sheamus needs it right now. He's got the United States strap anyway. I mean, I don't know.
Unless it's a case where we give it to Cena and the Money in the Bank that night immediately cashes in.
Yeah.
But then
who
else?
Tyler?
Yeah. I don't.
Then you got to think about that. Who the hell in the mid cards is going to go on there?
Wade Barrett. That's the only name. RVD. You're packing having these two matches on the card it's tough. Like usually they'll sprinkle it with mid carders, but
well,
I don't know.
Here's my next one. What the hell are they doing with Cody Rhodes right now?
I don't know, but I like it. I want to see him out on his own. I'm kind of moving past the tag team thing.
I'm kind of curious because when he made the remark on Raw, it's somebody you've never seen before, or somebody. What was it? It was somebody you've never wrestled with. It was something along those lines. They were kind of. It was
somebody you've never been around before.
Yeah. Unless it's like an NXT guy that they're bringing up.
I don't know.
Well,
I feel like it's gonna be like a Gilbert, like something stupid where it's like, it's the gobbledygooker, or it's what's his name?
Well, now that you have
Shockmaster,
the Shockmaster,
yeah,
I can only hear that name in Santino's voice. I love the Shockmaster.
Oh, we need to show your fiance the Shockmaster video at some point.
I think we need to keep that one though. The Shockmaster and the Nina response. I'll explain after the show what the Shockmaster is if you're still awake, or I'll.
It's nothing perverted if that's where you're going.
Sound like a really like a fucked up like sexual like thing that you would do.
Give her the Shockmaster.
Now I just feel rude and dirty all at once. Well, mid-card, you've essentially, not totally, but you've basically split up the Shield. You could put those three guys in the mid-card match, unless you're putting, like, I don't think it would make sense to put Roman Reigns or Dean Ambrose in, like, the main event one quite yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see it working out, the three of them involved in the briefcase one.
Maybe. I see Reigns being a player in the mid-card Money in the Bank. I kind of think that they're gonna do like a Rollins versus Ambrose match at the pay-per-view.
That wouldn't be bad. I wouldn't mind seeing that one. I think it would have a shitload of potential to it.
So,
were you shocked by that at all?
A little bit. I mean, it was almost in my mind like how the Divas title played out the next night after WrestleMania, where you had AJ. She beat everybody in the company. Where do you go from there? You know what I mean? You have to get the title immediately off of her. So this was the Shield beat Evolution. They're the top dog. Is there any other combination in wrestling that could have been matched up against the Shield? No.
I did. So, I actually really liked his promo on Monday when he was explaining how he was essentially the brain behind the Shield. Because for what it's worth, he was always the one that I didn't really think brought a lot to the table. Mm-hmm. So it would make sense that they'd kind of, paint him as like the mastermind behind it.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was funny because Nina had fallen asleep that night when he turned on them, and when she saw the review of it, you were actually surprised by that. She was actually into that a lot.
Yeah. It was a nice twist.
It was definitely interesting. I don't know. Like, I think I was probably as surprised as most people that it wasn't Ambrose that turned, but I think it's honestly like I don't know. With Seth Rollins out now, I like that you pretty much. Do you see him like? I don't know. Do you see him going anywhere now? Because I definitely have said time and time again, I definitely see Ambrose and Reigns being really like built up in singles competition. I just don't know about Rollins.
Yeah, I mean, I think after Money in the Bank, the thing would be to get him in a feud with Sheamus for the U.S. title. If you want to really start, you know, let that pot simmer. So
I'm just trying to. I'm also just trying to think of matches for Money in the Bank because as of now, it's like what are we like 2 weeks away from the pay per view?
yeah,
We have nothing.
I bet the tag titles will get up for grabs with the Wyatt family.
I
I
mean,
see
if
that.
they are, then they have to win,
I would hope so.
and that would be my next thing is if they won the tag straps, you could kind of break them away from Bray now
Mm-hmm.
and let them kind of do their own thing or their own program and kind of push Bray. Like, I think that would be an interesting one if they were to wrestle for the tag straps, win the tag straps, and then he were to win the world heavyweight title.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool to see another faction getting not necessarily all the titles, but the ones that really matter.
Yeah.
And I know I'm gonna get bitched about the ones that matter. Tag teams don't matter. You could. I mean, if you put the tag titles in a faction, they could.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still bummed that Orton and Batista, but then again, Batista obviously he was bound to leave anyway.
Yeah.
Due to his commitments to promoting that movie. So, and he's another one. Like, what the hell are they gonna do with him when he does come back?
I almost say try and make him a face again, but it's like, is there too much friction there from the audience that it's not going to work? You'd have to work really hard to get him over as a face again.
It depends though, because here was the thing: is regardless of in retrospect, everything hindsight's 2020, but you kind of got the impression that Punk something was going on with Punk, and you were everybody was invested in the Daniel Bryan. I just felt like it was such an awkward time to bring in Batista. Because again, he came in right as Punk walked out, right as Daniel Bryan, and that storyline, it convinced a lot of people that it just wasn't going to happen and they were going to build, Batista and he was going to win the title. And I just feel like if they brought him in under different circumstances, he might have gotten over with the crowd. I just felt like that was such a terrible call on their end to bring him in. Like, and I get it. They wanted him in for Mania and they wanted him in the main event, but I just thought it was terrible booking on their end.
Yeah. And I think that you need an established face at the top of that roster now more than ever. So getting him back after, I don't know, maybe towards SummerSlam they get him back. But that's going to be key, especially if you don't have Daniel Bryan back.
No, I think it's safe to say now, after the smoke is cleared and we're out of Chicago, CM Punk is not coming back.
What do you mean? His contract's not up for another month.
Oh my God, it's done. It's over. He's not coming to Boston.
No. The ship has sailed. That I don't, could it happen at some point that he comes back? Yes, but is it in any way happening in the immediate future? No. I'd be extremely shocked.
I think as soon as Steph McMahon validates it in character on live television on a pay-per-view in front of the hometown, you're pretty much. And I still am more curious if he screwed the pooch with his chances of ever coming back to the company when he is ready.
I don't know. A lot of people have done worse things than just walk out like that.
But they've done worse things to Vince. And I feel like despite the fact that Vince can hold a grudge, and he can hold a grudge for a very long time, he's still a businessman.
Yeah.
Businessman. A businessman. He's still a businessman. Like, he still knows what's good for the company. I don't get that impression from her and from
Triple H.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't know, but Triple H and Hogan have never been on the same side, and Triple H was instrumental in getting him back. So it depends.
Right.
It's really whatever Triple H is feeling at a certain moment. So
I mean, we'll say I think Triple H was instrumental in getting Warrior back. So I mean, and that guy burned more bridges. And again, I'm a Warrior fan. I'm not shy to say that guy burned so many fucking bridges. It's funny.
Exactly. The other thing I saw people were speculating is if I don't know if you saw the situation with Mysterio's contract is if because Mysterio had missed so much time over the last 2 years or whatever that they were like, well, you owe us another year on your contract, so we're just rolling it over. If they can do the same thing with CM Punk. I don't know what that means in terms of getting him back. I don't think it means much in the grand scheme of things, but
yeah,
in terms of keeping him off the market for, not that he's going to go to TNA, maybe an appearance at Ring of Honor or a New Japan appearance. It's interesting.
I mean, Vince was a fan. I mean, he may not have loved the character or the persona, but I have read that he respects the hell out of Phil. So I don't mean to turn this into a giant scam, but it's always going to be in the back of people's minds the same way it was with Bret Hart. I mean, I'm not necessarily trying to compare the two because I know to a lot of people that's sacrilege. But I mean, despite how Bret Hart went out, I mean that was wrestling folklore that was talked about until the day he returned. I mean,
but I think it's also the thing that he's not addressed it personally on a video, in an article, even in a tweet. He's not really directly responded and said what happened.
Well,
until he does, then I don't think people will have resolution in their mind.
Well, that's the thing about being a wrestling fan. Again, is my fiance was to me and says, "Why do they hate Daniel Bryan?" I could laugh and say, "Oh, that's cute," but really, that's what makes wrestling interesting. Is that sometimes they do blur the line between reality and fiction. You just don't. The fact that he hasn't addressed it, like anything else, is still kind of funny to me. That and it's almost brilliant on his end because if he were to come back, not addressing it is probably the best thing you can do.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like I think of it like how, there's so many famous musicians and stuff like that die early that they're still longed for in the music community, but had they continued on with their career until they kind of fizzled out, would they have still had that like desire from fans to keep wanting them? It's almost akin to that because CM Punk just walked away, and he, in a sense, he's kind of dead to us in the sense that we can't access him. We don't see him on TV every day, so it almost leaves you wanting and yearning for that feeling of seeing him on your TV again.
Well, no, people could accuse you of being melodramatic, but that's a very true statement, which is, and in a lot of cases, and even musicians or actors who didn't die, they just walked away. That almost creates more hype and more of, a kind of, I don't know, like desire to see them come back because you know what I mean? It just ended on a cliffhanger. Where you do have bands or actors or whoever that stayed in the mainstream constantly and never went away. And, for example, look at Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
It was like ubiquitous like 4 years ago. Like everybody adored her. Now she's actually playing the TD Garden. I'm thinking like, I remember when she did the Monster Ball. You could not get tickets to that to save your life. And I guarantee you could probably still find nosebleed seats just because she fizzled out. She didn't go away.
Yeah.
And then, again, it's brilliant if you could pull that off. I mean, I'm even kind of curious what's going to happen to Daniel Bryan when he comes back.
Yeah, because it seems like if you look at WrestleMania plans, like he's not even a thought in the mind of anybody booking it. Because it's like, oh, what are the big matches? Oh, Roman Reigns is going to be featured. The Rock's going to be featured. And nowhere is it like, hey, well, you got this idea for Bryan at WrestleMania and it's him and Brock or whatever.
Well, I mean, you could even go as far as say SummerSlam. It seemed like that's what they were leaning towards, and now you're not even here. And even Brock, like, I'm still kind of curious about I'm curious about him. I'm curious about the Undertaker. Like, there's still so many loose ends that weren't tied after this year's Mania that it's kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that what they're doing with the Shield right now is pretty brilliant. I think what they're doing with the Wyatt family is pretty brilliant, but I feel like the roster is getting too thin. The storylines are getting kind of, just worn out. And honestly, like I'm kind of curious to see, like, a part of me kind of wishes that Triple H had just taken the belt off Bryan and given it to himself. Like if Triple H goes into the ladder match and wins the title, that might be sadly the most interesting thing that can happen by the end of the summer.
Yeah. But how you reintroduce Bryan, because I imagine the plan would be to get the belt back onto Bryan and continue if you had plans up until that point going forward.
I'm
but
worried about this because and again, going back to what Nina said, it could be the kiss of death because it could be a Dolph Ziggler situation.
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know. I don't get how you can main event WrestleMania and then 2 months later they're done with you.
I don't know. Why don't you ask the Miz?
True.
I mean, think
Yeah.
about it.
No, that's true.
Ask the Miz. I mean, I know what is it? I don't know. Was he shooting a movie? Like he's been off TV for a while, and honestly, I know Catherine might be listening, and this might anger her, but it's been so nice. I mean,
You almost want to say he's the next one on that list of people to go.
I'll gladly take Mrs. Dad over him any day. No, I was curious because I did read that they were considering bringing the whole Miz Ric Flair thing back on the table.
I feel like that's terrible. Like,
well, considering how badly they used Flair in that Evolution angle, that's all I keep thinking was like that was such a colossal waste of time.
Yeah. Unless the plan is to put him with Rollins, like that would be awesome. Like he gave the pat on the back, but he gave it to this guy, knowing that he's the next guy. I don't know.
No, that would. I mean, it would be interesting. I don't know if that'd be the smartest thing to do, but it would certainly be interesting.
Yeah. But you know what though? It is kind of like a death sentence to get Flair on your side if you're not a big enough star yet to take it and make the most out of it. Because I was listening to AJ Styles on Jericho's podcast the other day, and he mentioned how AJ Styles was the TNA World Champion and had Flair as his manager and everything like that. And Flair, they'd go to like a baseball game to like throw out the first pitch. And Flair cast just a huge shadow over him that Styles didn't really even matter at that point.
Right.
So, I don't know. Is there a guy that can benefit? Maybe Ziggler. I've seen that been tossed out there, and I think that would be one of the more interesting routes to take.
Well, because I'm nervous too, because Ziggler could, whatever. I mean, people can say what they want. They can argue with this, but Ziggler very well could wind up on the next list.
He could, but it does seem like they're getting to the point where they're like, you know what? We had something with Ziggler. Let's try and rekindle that, because whenever there's an angle where, Batista is out there and he became heel, they put Ziggler out there. A couple times on Main Event, they put Ziggler out there as the guy to be the opposing to whoever's the top heel.
Right.
So maybe they're trying to consider putting that guy back up in position, because I think they definitely need somebody that can go at the top of this roster.
I find it kind of funny too, because they were blaming a lot of these releases on the failure of the WWE Network to really take off.
Yeah.
Which I kind of think is floating a bit, because you got to figure that a lot of these names weren't totally. I mean, 3MB a little surprising because they were still utilizing that group.
Mm-hmm.
However, at the same time, unlike Catherine, who I know is a huge 3MB fan, and I think she's in mourning right now. It's not a group that ever really interested me, and I mean, I'm hoping that they split them up now, because honestly, I'm not even the biggest Hornswoggle fan.
Yeah, it was, but that kind of sucks though if you're a Hornswoggle and you just had your head shaved.
Yeah,
and it's like, all right, well, now you're kind of being back to doing nothing again.
I mean, he did say he did an article. I forget where he's from originally, but he did a local in like a local paper. And he did say some of the tweets that do annoy him is when people are like, you still have a job? Why? And he was kind of explaining, and I thought it was kind of sad in a way, but he was saying that the Wii LC match pretty much stole the show at that pay-per-view.
Mm.
And I had to kind of think about that. I'm like, he's not totally off base, but if it did steal the show, it's because of how bad the pay-per-view was booked.
Yeah. It was up there as a highlight, but I don't know if it stole the show.
I mean, in someone's mind, they're a legend, but
yeah,
I don't know if that quite really resonated with the rest of the fans or the WWE universe, if you will.
But the thing that crossed my mind is now Heath Slater is on his own, and you got the Shield where they're missing a member. Could we have a 3M Shield kind of situation?
Shield?
I don't know. What would the name be then?
A Shield.M.B.
We're a 3-man Shield.
I wouldn't mind if they just tried to, now that he lost his band, if that was kind of like an ongoing angle.
Trying to get in the Shield.
Well, yeah, I mean, to me at least, you could use him in a comic relief sense. I think after maybe 2 or 3 times it would just be obnoxious, but I do think it would be kind of funny if the storyline you give to Heath Slater now is him trying to contain, Heath Slater in the Wyatt family. I personally, if I'm in creative, I might look at him and be like, all right, so we got this guy, and everyone was very high on him when he was doing the whole angle with like the legends coming back and always getting in those squash matches. And they said, he was such a great worker. He had like a really positive attitude about it, and all the legends like Psycho Sid and Vader had nothing but good things to say about him. Then if he's got such a great goddamn sense of humor, how could you not find that hysterical? If you have these factions that are still around, like if he comes out and campaigns to be the next Evolution member or something stupid.
Or, he puts on the face paint, he wants to be an Uso.
Yeah, like if he just randomly, like during a match, just comes out in whatever respective outfit of that faction. I mean, I still like 3M Shield. That's Shield.M.B, rather. Hashtag Shield.M.B.
I would love to see that though, like just showing up, like trying to help out and just getting in the way, like the middle of like a serious brawl, like between Triple H and Rollins, and you have Ambrose and Reigns, and then just to take a punch, like get the fuck out of here.
You know what? I am now officially, and you can do this with the show title or on Twitter or what have you at MO Commentary. I'm officially stepping down from the world's biggest Celtic Broskies fan, and I'm putting all of my support behind Shield.M.B. That's right. I am now throwing my support behind Shield Man Band. I expect the rest of you listening to do the same. Hashtag Shield.M.B. But yeah, if he just came out with the vest on, like they're cutting a promo against Rollins, and he just randomly shows up wearing the vest and like the sunglasses, I would laugh my ass off.
Like there's the gimmick. Rollins takes his Shield shit, throws it in the trash, and you just see like in the background like Heath Slater come up and like start to like mime putting the shit up to him, like, hey, not bad.
Unless, of course, you could use Heath Slater as Goldust's partner, and he comes out in like the gold mane. I don't think it would be nearly as funny as the Shield.M.B gimmick, but there's.
Or you could have the Shield like coming out like for their entrance, and then you have Heath Slater chasing them down the aisle, like the crowd like trying to catch up with them, like, wait up, guys.
I would actually laugh harder if their music hits and they're either cutting a promo or they're in a match, or Reigns is in a match against Orton or something, and he's being accompanied to the ring by Dean Ambrose. They're on one side of the arena, and on the other side of the arena, Slater, he can't even. Basically, he just gets lost trying to follow them, and he just winds up on the complete opposite side of the arena.
Or he comes in full tactical gear, but you have it on WWE.com that he was future endeavored, and then the security crowd takes him away as he's trying to hop the rail. The apron or the railing.
I would actually laugh even harder because originally I had read somewhere, I think Reigns said it, that they had wanted them to actually come out with like the riot shields.
Yeah.
I think you there you go. Slater with the riot shield and the helmet on. I even introduce an angle where it's Heath Slater just the entire episode of Raw, doesn't wrestle a match. It's just like the backstage is just keep cutting to Heath Slater, and he like winds up in like the WWE warehouse or something. It's the hall of forgotten gimmicks, and he's just rummaging around trying to find like anything to create a new gimmick out of.
Shockmaster,
like anything like that. Again, if you're in WWE creative, I would be kind of. I mean, it sucks. I worked in an industry where people getting laid off like that was no surprise to me, and it sucks when people are kind of trying to use that like leverage. I remember when one of the radio stations I worked for didn't even tell their staff letting them go. They found out on Boston.com the night before. And I started unfriending people on Facebook that were in radio that were like, oh, that station sucked anyways. Listen to this station. Because in my mind, I was like, dude, my friends just lost their job. Like, have a heart. But there is a side of you that's kind of like, I'm not making fun of it, but I kind of want to. Because, I mean, as a wrestler, you can get pissed off and think, like, fuck, like, I just lost my livelihood. What am I going to do? Like anyone would at a career they lost.
Yeah.
But not necessarily poking fun at it, but almost in a writer-esque way, being like, well, crap, I could be next. I need to find a gimmick. And just have, like, a few guys. Like, that's something that I'm surprised they've never done, where you take a few guys who very well could eventually be on that list that if you're going to send them out at least in a comical way where it's like, just have this group of guys that's like, crap, did you hear about what happened? Yeah, like, we got to find gimmicks. And the whole, like, like segment, their whole segment on Raw could just be them rummaging around the arena looking for gimmicks. Like, I'm surprised that one hasn't been done yet. Like, someone looking for a gimmick, like the whole episode of Raw.
Like Vince walking down the hall and somebody like quickly like searching every basket and suitcase down the hallway, like, I gotta find the gimmick.
Well, not like even like the gimmick master or something stupid. Like, you just have Vince like doing the power strut in the hallways, and you just see someone constantly annoying the hell out of him, being like, Vince, what do you think of this gimmick? And just like the typical Vince McMahon rolling the eyes and just like groaning and walking past them.
Constantly like getting in the position of like, well, you know what? And somebody interrupts him. Or they cut to commercial break. Something happens, so he never says the words.
And then eventually he just gets beaten into submission. He's just like, whatever.
You're headlining WrestleMania.
No, I mean, I definitely think with Heath Slater, they could definitely do something really funny and creative with this. But once again, I get mad that no one of significant Titan Tower importance listens to this damn show, because if nothing else, like, I'm not saying it would be like it would sell merchandise, but I think for at least one Raw, it would be funny as hell to see two members of the Shield coming down on one side of the arena and then Heath Slater like just like bolting down the other, just like trying to make it seem as inconspicuous as possible, but clearly everyone knows like this asshole didn't even get on the right side of the arena. It's the Shield.M.B. No.
Somebody make that remix. I know that song exists.
You know what? Now I kind of want, if anyone is listening on Twitter or whatever, and if you make that up, we'll give you a videotape or something.
Yeah.
Just as a consolation prize, if you can remix the 3-man band and the Shield teams together and just make the definitive Heath Slater like Shield.M.B. If you can make that mashup, we will do something for you.
Yep.
Now, before we wrap up, do we have any tweets this week?
Michael Sears missed us very much. He conveniently enough wants to know if there was a new Shield member, who would it be? I think we took care of that.
Again, I'm not convinced until someone creates that mashup for us.
Was it a smart move to break up the Shield?
Well, now that you have Heath Slater without a band, I mean, think of this as the Velvet Revolver of wrestling factions. You have the Guns N' Roses side in the Shield, and then you have the Scott Weiland equivalent in Heath Slater. I personally think another angle that would work is if Heath Slater just, like, on Monday, if he just keeps holding auditions for the next members of the 3-man band.
I did put it out there earlier that I'd like to see somebody make a super card, like a pay-per-view or just a regular show with the released talents, like make the best show. Would you like to take a stab at it, Eddie?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Let's see, Kurt Hawkins. I would use him in some capacity.
Okay.
I would definitely use him because I actually really liked him as a wrestler, and I was really bummed out that they never did anything with him. Oh, man. Because with the exception of him, like, well, all right, let's say him and Evan Bourne.
Yeah.
In, like, a ladder match.
All right.
There's really one. I mean, is anyone really losing sleep over the fact that Brodus Clay is gone? Not really. The Dolphins need him now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, do you have, like, a super card that you would put together?
I don't, but when I threw this out there, somebody actually responded. Ben Berkeley came back, and he had the genius idea of using the unused titles of WWE past. So in a cruiserweight match, you would have Yoshitatsu versus Evan Bourne. Let's see. In a number one contenders match for the ECW championship, Kurt Hawkins versus Jinder Mahal.
Okay.
In a European championship, Drew McIntyre with Oksana beat JTG. And for the ECW heavyweight title, you have Brodus Clay with Theodore Long versus Camacho.
What I like the most about this is I can hear the WWE announcer's voice in my head as like the opening promo or the opening video airs, and it's the Starburst presents WWE Future Endeavor.
He has a tagline for the show. It may not be WrestleMania, but it's still more likely to be better than Battleground. We guarantee.
I think that's a safe bet all around. Personally, again, I don't know why we have like so many pay-per-views stacked up this summer.
Yeah.
And that's got to be like the ultimate, like, wow, we are so fucked. It's like you look at your calendar and you're like, all right, in the month of June, we have 2 pay-per-views, and then you look at your like list, like your score of like release talents, and you're just like, oh man. So we'll do Randy Orton versus Randy Orton. Like I think they should totally do like the definitive Michael Cole match, which is vintage whoever versus the new version of them.
Nice.
I mean, you could do, RVD versus Ryback in a singlet match.
Singlet on a pole.
Whoever wins gets to basically wear that outfit for the rest of their career. It's like the hair versus hair match. If you lose, you can never wear the singlet again.
There are a lot of pay-per-views this summer, but the one in Boston, where do you stand in terms of being somebody to attend? We've not really talked about it yet, but
when it was rumored that Daniel Bryan and Kane were possibly going to have a Buried Alive match, you pretty much had me.
Yeah.
And as soon as they took that off the table and called it a stretcher match, my interest like weaned a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm still kind of on the fence. I don't quite know yet where I stand with this because I've never seen a live ladder match that's something of an interest, but I'm getting like Vietnam flashbacks of Survivor Series all the time.
That's what I keep thinking. I'm like, when was the last really good pay-per-view top to bottom that you're like, damn, I'm glad I got that show?
In terms of attending?
Just in watching, enjoying.
Watching.
Top to bottom that you were just like, that was fun. Or at least, I don't know, 60 to 70% that you were like, this was fun. This was worth my time.
I will say the last pay-per-view that I paid for, which was, and I'm not saying this to sound like a mark here, I'm just saying that Money in the Bank, Chicago, just to have been in that atmosphere. And I mean, I have a long list of pay-per-views I wish I had attended, like from years and years ago. But that was the one that in the past 5 years was like, holy crap, like I don't regret spending $50 on this, but I certainly wish I was in Chicago for that. That would have been awesome.
I'm with you. Like, because even SummerSlam last year, it was like 2 matches.
Right.
But I think it goes back to Night of Champions 2012, where I was like, you know what? This is a good show. I enjoy it. Granted, I was in attendance, but I think I would have enjoyed it nonetheless had I been at home watching it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, there haven't really been any pay-per-views where like I turned it off and was like, damn, I wish I'd actually been there live.
Yeah.
Money in the Bank, that was pretty much the one, if not that year's SummerSlam.
Yeah.
I mean, that was another one. Just to have seen Kevin Nash would have been cool. But I mean, the Royal Rumble too, the one where Booker T and Nash returned.
Yeah.
I mean, just for the ending alone. I mean, because it would have been one of the last times I would have seen Edge, and I did have the privilege. I did see Edge and Christian when they were still a tag team.
Nice.
At King of the Ring in 2000.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they're really in this decade. There really haven't been anywhere from top to bottom. Like I wish I had been there.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if there were, they were for little moments and not like an entire card of moments. Like TLC when Brian cashed in and got the World Heavyweight and Punk retained and Zack Ryder got the US title. I mean, I even probably would have appreciated going to that Raw when Punk did the opening package with like who came out on top with the belts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there really haven't been any pay-per-views where I've been like, damn, I wish I was at that.
Yeah. Not even so much that you had to be at it or it was epic and legendary, just something that you were like, that was good. I'm glad I watched that. Like WrestleMania 28, I thought was good, but it's been a while.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have seen Michael's last match.
Yeah,
that would have been cool live. Yeah, there really haven't been too many, truthfully, that like, wow, I wish I was there, or just like you said, walked away from it was like, wow, that was totally worth it.
It's tough. So
Because for the most part, anytime a pay-per-view has ended, kind of like a Raw, I was sitting on the edge of my seat and kind of like saying aloud, like, that's it.
yeah,
That's how it ended. Like, not even in like a cliffhanger way, like when Nash powerbombed Punk and Del Rio got the title. Like that was like a definitive, like, I was pissed off with how it ended, but pissed off and like I can't wait to see where this is going.
exactly.
And of course, they completely screwed it all up, and that just kind of got ruined for me. But yeah, there really hasn't been a definitive like, wow, I'm totally satisfied with. I mean, WrestleMania 30, kind of, not completely, but kind of.
But there's always that built up of, and they kind of know going in that they have to provide a certain level of show,
Right.
but not one. But it was far from being anything where I was like, that was amazing. That was the best WrestleMania I ever saw. Maybe for some people it was. I understand Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan winning the title was big for a lot of people. He wasn't my guy. I definitely appreciate him on the roster, but he's not my guy. So it wasn't as big of a moment for me.
No,
But
I mean, I don't think anyone can really disagree with you there either. I think it's definitely when you have your guy, when you have your favorite wrestler. Like when I went to um, Monday Night Raw, it was the Raw right before the Survivor Series tag match with The Rock and Cena against R-Truth and Miz. Honestly, that was like one of the most fun events I'd ever gone to because it was a pretty star-studded. I mean, the matches weren't very good, and it wasn't the best Raw I've ever seen, whether live or in person. But it just in terms of Punk had so much not heat, but he was so popular going into it, and obviously you had The Rock, you had Mick Foley, you had JR was there. That was one of the last times I've seen JR. I mean, overall, it was fun, and the atmosphere was pretty electric.
Yeah.
But
I don't know, but that kind of sets me up for my mood this summer in that I'm not sold on Money in the Bank yet. It could happen in the next 2 weeks. I'm not sure. It's gonna wait. My interest in the pay per view is shifted because it's in our hometown, but in terms of the summer going forward, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be on the WWE Network following SummerSlam.
yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely what's really hurting right now is you should be, selling your network. You should be getting more people subscribing, and I don't think what's free, which is Raw on USA. I don't think it's helping.
No, and I don't think the network is enough of what it, or I touted out that I thought it was gonna be. Like the shows they announced when they went to what was it, the electronic fair or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought those were coming right away. Like the fact that you give me one, legend show a week isn't enough for me to keep on the nipple of WWE.
Right.
I don't. There's not enough there. So
I mean, again, I think the way they were trying to rope in people like us was essentially by saying that, oh, we have literally every pay-per-view from these three companies and then some. Like that should be enough. Yeah, but at the same time, like there's only so much like content you want to see from the past. Like if you're investing in a network, you want to see where they're going with the future.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, having every pay-per-view, and don't get me wrong, that you've already seen probably dozens of times before, is pretty amazing. Like that's awesome to have that at your fingertips, but it's still, I feel like it's still not enough because I mean, I don't know. There's still people out there that, like myself, if we really want it, we'll still, run out, we'll buy the DVDs, and we'll get the tape. And I understand that there's not a lot of us, but
yeah, I understand. But that also brings me to our next subject and possible project that I've talked to you about is, you throw throw a rock and you'll hit anybody talking about doing a whole series of podcasts on the Attitude Era or ECW. And I was talking to Eddie. I'm like, we would be fun. That would be fun for me and you to do, but to do it on a subject that we don't really know as much and without investing a ton of time because there's lots of wrestling eras that span many years. I think it would be fun for us to do one that spanned just about a year, and that is the start of the WCW reset. I think it was, what date? I it was April 15th, 2000, where they reset the company. And going forward, we can cover the pay-per-views and any special hiccups or Thunder or Nitro episodes that are of note. I think it'd be fun to go back and watch now, and especially for Eddie, who I know isn't or wasn't a WCW guy really, to kind of watch it with a fresh pair of eyes. And we'll do a whole show on each particular step along the way. So that's just kind of my idea. Hopefully you guys would enjoy this. Let us know. I'd really be interested in your perspective on if you guys would like us to do this or not.
Well, I personally think an idea like that's more fun because, again, we could go on for days about, the Attitude Era or WCW or ECW rather. And I mean, we've done it before. I think it's more fun and more challenging to go back and watch a product that at the time, you weren't necessarily a fan of. I mean, don't get me wrong. TNA eventually that could even be one too. I'm sad to admit that one of the shows that we did that got the most listens was my history lesson on TNA. And a lot of it is just, wrestling is completely subjective. Like Jason and I can come from the school of thought that, the Attitude Era was one of the greatest eras in professional wrestling, but that's just our opinion. That's our take on it as fans.
Yeah.
So it would be fun for me to go back and actually watch WCW in its final year and, kind of wonder to myself, like, what, or get kind of nostalgic and think, like, I kind of wish that I had paid more attention while it's still around. Because that's the thing, in hindsight, too, like, you're going to appreciate more things about it than, you did at the time. Because that was the thing with WWE fans is, and I still hold to this, that when you were a fan of a brand, that was your brand.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't think there's anyway. I don't think that a lot of people disagree with that. I think that, I'm sure a lot of people did watch both brands, but I think there were definitely more people who would say that they were more of a WWE guy or a WCW guy than, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
That was my idea. Hopefully people will enjoy it and, respond, let us know, tell us things that we should be covering along the way. But I think in the next week or two that we'll probably sit down. I think we'll start at that Monday Nitro from April 2000, kind of go forward from there.
Yeah, definitely leave your thoughts at MO Commentary on Twitter, 978-276-9418. Fill up the mailbox. Like us on Facebook. You can write on our Facebook wall. I mean, any other ideas, sir? Or any that?
That's gonna do it. We still are selling T-shirts, so prowrestlingtees.com.
They haven't bumped us yet? I'm surprised.
I think they forgot about us. So if you're interested in a T-shirt, now's the time to get it. I can't promise how much longer it's gonna last. Hopefully they forget it and just let us keep pitching shirts that nobody's gonna buy.
That's kind of the nice thing about being relatively or mostly unknown, is that little things like that, like trying to sell T-shirts of a show that very few people listen to, which is like a cult show, which is kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We get to keep our T-shirt deal because it's not that they're like, oh man, they're not selling enough T-shirts. We're selling so few T-shirts that they don't even remember that we're on the website. So, well, I think that about wraps it up. So
I believe so.
276-9418 at MO Commentary on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. You can find us on Podomatic. You can find us on Stitcher. You can find us on iTunes. In the meantime, I can't promise when the next show will happen, as we're still doing this kind of like bi-weekly sort of deal.
Yep.
If anything, like, all right, if Shield.M.B actually happens on Monday Night Raw, I can guarantee that there will be a show next week.
You guarantee there'll be a show Monday night at 12 o'clock.
Trust me, and most of the show will probably be me ranting and raving that somebody in Titan Towers is in fact a listener and a fan of the show, and goddamn it, just hire us. All Jason has to do is just sit there and let me pitch really bad ideas at him and just laugh. And I can guarantee you Monday Night Raw, I can't promise it'll get better, but it would get interesting. So, Mark on Commentary, I'm Hugh Roby.
I'm Jason Smith.
We will talk to you possibly next week if we get Shield.M.B. No promises.